Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to show you a snowblower quick tip, especially when it comes to your carburetor on Tecumseh engines. So what I've got here is a Tecumseh carburetor, and you're probably wondering what the tip is today. Well, the tip is if your carburetor is leaking, what you want to make sure is to check that the vent hole up here is not clogged. Now the reason I'm showing you guys this tip today is because a lot of people do not know that this small vent hole here exists on these carburetors. It's the tiny hole right here where my pick is. It's quite small. And you're going to find these carburetors on Tecumseh engines like this from 8 horsepower on up. And these are the older Tecumseh flathead engines. They are good engines, by the way. They do not make these anymore, but you can get parts for the carburetors. Now what often happens on these carburetors is that small vent hole ends up being plugged. People don't know, and then your carburetor is constantly flooding itself. Fuel will pour out the back here, and it's going to cause your engine not to run properly. And often people tell me I've rebuilt the whole carburetor, all the insides of the carb are like new, but the carburetor is still flooding. Well, this could be your problem. Now another thing you want to check if your carburetor is flooding is that the float is still okay. This one here is taking on fuel. If I shake it, you can hear it. And if it's full of fuel like this one, it's not going to bring up the needle valve to stop the flow of fuel, and it will make your carburetor flood as well. But if you've replaced the float and you don't have an issue with fuel coming into it, then make sure to check that the small vent hole here is not plugged. Now I've got another Tecumseh carburetor here that is identical to the one I showed you previously. Now this one here, you cannot see the vent hole. It's more than likely plugged, and I'm going to show you how to unplug that. You can buy these small micro drill bits on eBay with a holder like this. And what you want to do is find the hole. You want to make sure it's unplugged. If you don't have these small drill bits, you can use the inner wire of a twist tie, or you could also use a piece from a wire brush. And you can see this one here was quite plugged actually. And the guy who had this carburetor was complaining of it not running properly. And he had replaced a lot of parts in the carb, so I will assume that this was the problem here. And here's the inner wire from a twist tie like I was talking about. They work great as well, but they're not as good as the small drill bit I showed you. And this one here fits in perfectly into the hole. And here's the other method with the wire brush. You just basically take one strand, and usually the wires on the wire brush are quite solid. Then you just want to find a little hole and clean it out. You could also cut off a wire and use some pliers. So the wire brush and the twist tie would be alternatives. They're not as good as the drill bit on this tool here. And here's one last close-up look at that vent hole. And again, make sure that's unplugged. So thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and make sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and have yourselves a great day.